What if risking disease and losing half your teeth was the price you paid just to survive in the American West? In a world where a single bath cost a week's wages, and fathers always washed first, leaving children last in dirty water, basic hygiene was nearly impossible. Toothbrushes were luxuries most people could not afford, and a toothache meant whiskey and a wrench. This is the real story behind the Old West's so-called rugged heroes, where filth shaped more lives than frontier justice. The truth is dirtier than any Hollywood tale, and it starts with the weekly family bath. A family gathers in a cramped cabin as dusk settles, the copper tub already steaming in the center of the room. Water has been hauled bucket by bucket, each trip from the well or creek a labor in itself. The father lowers himself into the bath first, soaking away a week's worth of grit and sweat. By the time the youngest child takes a turn, the water is cloudy and cold. But that is the only option. Heating more water means chopping extra firewood and burning precious fuel. In many homes, this ritual played out just once a week, if that. For most on the frontier, a full bath happened only 2 or 3 times a year. Harsh winters made it even tougher. With water frozen and fuel scarce, families sometimes went more than 6 months without a proper wash. In town, the bathhouse offered another path to cleanliness, but it came at a price. In the 1880s, a single hot bath cost between 25 to 50 cents, up to half a day's pay for a cowboy or farmhand. That did not include soap or towel, which could tack on another 20 cents. Many settled for used water at a discount, or skipped the bath altogether to save money. Saturday night became the unofficial bath day, driven by the need to show up clean for Sunday church and social calls. Bathhouses filled with men lined up for their turn, each hoping for water that was not already tepid and grimy. The scarcity of affordable, clean water meant that dirt and sweat became part of daily life, locked into skin and clothes for months at a time. For families and townsfolk alike, cleanliness was a costly ritual, not a given. A battered ledger from a frontier dentist's office tells a story written in pain. One entry dated 1884 records a payment for extracting 2 molars. The fee was 50 cents plus a half pint of whiskey. For most settlers, dental care was a last resort. By age 30, the average man or woman had already lost 8 to 10 teeth. Toothbrushes sat behind the glass of general stores, priced at $1 or $2 each, equal to a day's hard labor. Few could afford such a luxury, so teeth went unbrushed for months or years. Instead, people rubbed their gums with coarse salt, powdered charcoal, or the corner of a rag. Some used a communal brush passed around among siblings. When decay set in, there was no gentle fix. The tooth key, a metal instrument with a hooked end, was the tool of choice for extractions. The patient gripped the chair, drank a generous swig of whiskey, and braced for the twisting force that would wrench the tooth free. There was no anesthesia, only the numbing burn of alcohol, and the hope the job would be quick. One dentist in Helena, Montana noted that he pulled more than 50 teeth in a single month, mostly for miners and ranch hands who could not bear the ache any longer. The pain did not end with the extraction. Infections, broken roots, and swollen jaws haunted many for weeks. For those who could not pay, the agony simply lingered, a daily reminder of how far the frontier was from comfort, even basic relief. Siam squirrels, frontier slang for lice, were as much a part of daily life as dust and sweat. These tiny parasites thrived in the seams of shirts, trousers, and long johns, burrowing into every fold. Straw mattresses, the standard bedding in homes and hotels, were replaced only once or twice a year. By midsummer, the ticking crawled with lice, fleas, and bedbugs. Travelers on the road learned to expect a nightly assault. Boarding houses and stagecoach inns often crammed strangers together in one bed, turning each mattress into a communal habitat for vermin. Bedbug bites left red welts up and down arms and legs, and the itching rarely let up. Kerosene became the weapon of choice. Guests would douse bed sheets or smear the cracks in wooden bed frames, hoping to drive out the Red Army before sleep. The sharp smell lingered, but it beat the alternative. Diaries from the period mention guests carrying their own tin of kerosene, treating bites by lamplight, and sometimes burning their clothes to escape an infestation. In towns where the problem was notorious, some hotels tried to spin it as a point of pride. One 1870s ad, half in jest, promised less than 5 bugs per bed, a marketing strategy that says as much about the era's expectations as it does about the reality. For the weary traveler, a night's rest was always a gamble, with discomfort almost guaranteed. A backyard outhouse was standard on the frontier, built over a pit dug 4 to 6 feet deep. Each week, a layer of lime or ash was scattered into the hole, meant to tamp down the stench and keep flies at bay. But the reality was far from sanitary. Black widow spiders thrived in the dark, damp corners, and stories of painful bites and sudden illness were common enough to make even the bravest hesitate before sitting down. By the 1890s, the Sears Roebuck catalog became the toilet paper of choice, its pages torn out, crumpled, and tossed into the pit. In early mining towns, chamber pots collected waste overnight and were dumped into the street at dawn, sending a foul tide through the heart of town. City Council minutes from Virginia City in 1866 record heated debates over new ordinances to ban this practice, with some citizens protesting the inconvenience. Yet the push for stricter rules grew as outbreaks of fever swept through neighborhoods. The flaws in these basic waste systems did not just affect one household, they threatened the health of entire communities, setting the stage for the epidemics that would soon follow. Wells and privies stood side by side in Deadwood's early years, sometimes as little as 50 feet apart. Waste from outhouses seeped through the ground, blending with the water drawn for drinking and cooking. Laundry, dishwashing, and even bathing all relied on this same supply, with water often reused until it turned cloudy. Local nurses and doctors watched the town's health unravel. Diarrhea and fever swept through cabins and camps, earning dysentery the nickname the Oregon Trail Quickstep. Hospital ledgers from the Deadwood area fill with the same story, page after page of patients admitted for fever, flux, or camp disease. Caregivers like Nurse Ellen McKay scrubbed with carbolic soap each morning, but the drains outside kept the fever alive. Within months, local estimates counted hundreds lost to disease, children, minors, and newcomers alike. The small hospital overflowed, and makeshift wards sprang up in tents and stables. Survivors wrote home about the stench that hung over the town and the water that tasted faintly of rot. In Deadwood, the line between waste and sustenance blurred, and the price was measured in lives. Laundry on the frontier was a grueling affair. Cowboys often wore the same shirt and trousers for 3 to 6 months straight, with washing reserved for special occasions or when lice made the itch unbearable. Lye soap made from animal fat and wood ash was so harsh that it stripped color from fabric and left hands raw. Thick gloves became a necessity for anyone brave enough to tackle the family's pile of clothes. Instead of washing, many hung their garments outside to freeze in winter, hoping the cold would kill off parasites. Women, despite these obstacles, maintained a daily routine of face washing and changed undergarments weekly, a standard that set them apart from the men around them. Diaries from the 1860s and the 1870s are filled with women's complaints about husbands who refused to change their shirts or bathe more than once a season. Barber shops became a rare oasis of cleanliness for men. By the 1880s, a full-service package that included a haircut, a shave, a bath, and delousing cost $1, nearly a day's wage. Straight razors, rarely sterilized, passed from face to face, spreading infections like barber's itch and worse. Hair tonics scented with bay rum or cinnamon oil mask the smell of sweat and livestock. Some barbers traveled in wagons, following cattle drives and setting up shop in dusty camps. By the late 1890s, short haircuts grew popular, a visible rejection of the long, unkempt styles of earlier decades. The rise of these grooming services and shifting social standards signaled a slow, uneven march toward modern hygiene in the West. Modern sanitation is a luxury built on hard lessons, paid for in suffering, disease, and shortened lives. Today, nearly 2 billion people still lack basic hygiene access. The frontier's filth is not just history, it is a warning about what is lost when clean water and public health are taken for granted.